brute force. If it doesn't work, you're just not using enough. You're listening to SOFREP Radio, special operations military news, and straight talk with the guys in the community.
You guys have probably seen the ads already for the bearskin hoodie, right? Well, if you've been waiting to get yourself one, now is the time. It's officially hoodie season. Cold mornings, windy days, surprise snow, and right now, Bearskin is running their biggest deal of the year. We're talking 60% off for this Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Now, this isn't some old fleece. This thing's built with 340 GSM bearskin fleece, 10 pockets, and a rugged athletic fit that actually looks good on you. Plus, if it starts pouring, you can zip up on the heavy storm rain jacket and instantly level up to full waterproof protection. You'll get free US shipping from their Kentucky warehouse and gear that'll last you season after season. So here's what you need to do to get 60% off. Text RAD to 36912. Again, that's RAD to 36912. And they'll text you a link so you can lock in your 60% off before the sale disappears. Don't wait till the weather gets really bad. Grab a bearskin now while this Black Friday deal is live. And one more thing, when you support Bearskin, you are also supporting the Fallen Outdoors and the Hope for the Warriors Veterans Program. So you're not just buying great gear, you're backing a cause that matters. Grab your Bearskin while this Black Friday deal is still live. It is rad, and I'm totally not surprised to be right here talking to you, but I'm acting like it. So what's up? This is SOFREP Radio, and welcome to your first episode or video if this is the first time you're tuning in. If you've listened and you're a veteran of SOFREP Radio, welcome back. You know who I am, and you know how this is about to go. And you probably know who my guest is already. But first, before I introduce you to my guest, say it with me. The merch store, sofrep.com/merch. Go check it out. We got lots of cool items. The holidays are upon us. You might want to get a little something for yourself. Spoil yourself. Go ahead and spoil me. Spoil someone else around you. Get them a little something. And then second is our book club. And that's sofrep.com/book-club. So it's the gym for your brain. Reading a book, knowledge is power. You hear it all the time. We can't stress it enough around here. We have so many folks that come on the show that write books, that read books. It's just so powerful to hear their message. So please go read a book and check out the sofrep.com/book-club, where it's curated for viewers like you from people like Brandon Webb and in the special operations community. Okay, so the book that I'd like to hopefully try to get into the book club if my guest will work with us, Anthony Vinci, who is written his book. Let me just read this to you correctly. He is the author of the book, The Fourth Intelligence Revolution, The Future of Espionage and the Battle to Save America. He served as the first Chief Technology Officer and Associate Director for Capabilities at the National Geospatial-Intelligence Agency, also known as an NGA. Earlier in his career, he served as an intelligence officer in Iraq, Africa, and Asia. After leaving the world of intelligence, Anthony became an executive at a private equity firm. He is now the CEO of Vico, an AI company, which is, what does AI stand for again? Automated interface? But it's actually artificial intelligence. Thank you, yeah. I forget that, dude. I forget. I'm living in AI days. He has a company, it's democratizing intelligence analysis and super empowering analysts. Anthony is also an adjunct senior fellow at the Center for a New American Security. He received his PhD in international relations from the London School of Economics. I want to welcome you to the show, not butcher your bio, but it's nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me, man. Super excited.
So, intelligence. You were, is that Army or was that a military branch that you were in with this intelligence?
No, I was a civilian intelligence officer. I was with DIA, and I was a case officer. So that's somebody who goes out in the field and recruits spies and handles them to provide information.
So did you go from I want to be on the baseball team to a spy to the civilian spy sector?
I like a lot of other guys, was of a generation where 9/11 happened when I was young. And as soon as that happened, I was like, I want to get in the game. My dad was a Marine, my brother was a Marine. I just sort of assumed that I would be serving. And I realized that, the intelligence world was the right one for me. I'd already lived abroad. I knew what it was like, and I was like, this is how to get in that game, and this was important for the country at that time.
That's amazing. So did you just Google how to apply to the DIA? Is that what you said, or CIA? What was the acronym you threw out there?
DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency.
Yeah. Okay.
That's literally what you do. I mean, that's what most people do. You sort of Google and you're like, how do I go do this job? I talked to some friends as well who were kind of knew a little bit about that world, and they sort of pointed in different directions and were like, here's a place, and you literally put your application in online.
How old were you?
Oh man, I was in my mid-20s.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was probably 27 when I applied. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's incredible. It's like, I mean, hey, I believe it. You speak other languages as well?
At the time, I spoke a little bit of Arabic. It's completely gone.
Oh, I see. That's what they all say. Say. Now,
Inshallah.
Yeah. Inshallah. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. You see, it's okay. Yeah. Yes. I love that. And so, shukran. Let's see here. It's good. I just have questions, you know what I mean, for you, dude? And my listeners like, Rad, ask them questions, bro. Crack the egg. How do we crack the egg and scramble this? So, as a DIA operative?
Yeah, intelligence officer.
Are you looking for, are you literally like, okay, I'm thinking of like The Saint with Val Kilmer, where he was like, I am Saint so-and-so, and he's like, different loadouts, different faces, Mission Impossible, is that something that I'm thinking about you? Like,
I like to think about it like this. You want to know what's going on in, southern Afghanistan or Iraq or China. And, we're Americans. We grew up here. We probably don't know that many people there. How are you going to get that information, right? And the way to get that is you want to get a local guy.
Yeah.
You want to get somebody who's got that placement and access. He lives there. He knows people. Maybe, back during the kind of global war on terrorism day, maybe this guy, had friends who were involved with terrorist groups, someone like that, or maybe he works at a government agency that you want to get information from. You got to go get one of those guys. You're not going to walk in yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And so what you do is you learn how to find those people and recruit them to come work for you. You're essentially convincing them to commit treason, on their own country.
Yeah, 100%. It's like you got to get human intelligence. So human is what you're going after there by somebody, human intelligence. And there's like OSIT, there's like, open sourced intelligence where you can find all of the information about somebody online. And they're like, how did you know all this about me? It's like, well, you wrote a daily journal every day. It's like, I knew you were going to be on vacation for 8 days because you posted every single day.
Some people say about human, it's the int or the intelligence of last resort. So, first maybe, you try to look it up online, some open source intelligence. Maybe you use signals intelligence, and or geo intelligence, like you use imagery maybe from a satellite. But if you really can't find it any other way, the only way to get in that room or to get that piece of information is get another human being to do it. Then that's where somebody like me came in.
Okay, now let's flash backwards to World War II. Yeah. Okay, you have people inside of our own, allies that are like they sympathize with what Hitler is doing in World War II, and they're like, oh, it's no big deal, it's not affecting us. And you got people inside trying to thwart any type of problem against him. Now, you probably have an understanding of World War II stuff. I mean, there's spy versus spy. They're like trying to get in and, thwart things. Do you have any conversation about that?
I mean, look, this is the nature of intelligence, right? We have guys on our side who want to collect information on the other guys. They don't want us to collect that information, so they have counterintelligence. They're trying to find, like I was saying, I recruit a spy to go spy on your government agency. They're trying to find that guy. So it's this back and forth. It's that spy versus spy, like you said. And that's been going on. That goes back way further than World War II. That's been going on since the dawn of humanity. Some people call intelligence the second oldest profession. And so in World War II, what was special about that for America, though, is that I think of it as the Big Bang for American intelligence, because we didn't really have centralized intelligence before that. We kind of had military intelligence during a war. We would spin up, reconnaissance and intelligence function. We would turn it off during peacetime. We didn't like to have intelligence. And in World War II, we created something called the OSS, which was really our first spy agency.
Right, and again, that was in conjunction with like kind of the British, right? Where, the whole thing, and the guy out of Australia, I think, who created the OSS, who was like a dual spy, and it was like, what side is he really on? Well, he was buried with like American honors, so there's kind of that, I can't remember all the spy, forgive me for forgetting, I've actually done a book interview about him, but yeah, you're right, the OSS, okay, and now that led to what we know as like the CIA.
Yeah, I mean, we had such a distaste for intelligence in America. There was this guy, Henry Stimson. He was the Secretary of State and the Secretary of War. He sort of notoriously said, "Gentlemen don't read each other's mail." Like that was how we felt. We felt like it was distasteful. It was ungentlemanly to spy in a way. And actually, after World War II, Truman shut down the OSS. And he said he didn't want there to be an American Gestapo. So for a couple years there, in the beginning of the Cold War, we didn't have any spy agency. We kind of had some stuff going on in the Army and the State Department, that was it. And then 1947, they set up the CIA, because we realized, look, we're going up against a big boy now. We're in a Cold War with the Soviet Union, and they have the KGB, and those guys don't mess around. And we need our own permanent peacetime professional agency, and that was the CIA.
Right. And they would just take everything under their umbrella that was just not military per se related. We've all seen like Clear and Present Danger from Tom Clancy, where Willem Dafoe and his men are just like cut off. It's like just let them get out of it, leave them there. Like they send these guys in to do a mission, and then they just cancel the mission. Rambo's the same thing. Rambo, First Blood Part 2, he goes in to get the POWs out. It's all like under the CIA guys and all this discreet, clandestine. And then all of a sudden at the very end, it's like, just don't pick him up. He gets there, gets the mission done, he finds the POWs. They didn't want to find that. They didn't want to find the intelligence. Yeah,
the OSS did both intelligence collection. They also did special operations. Right, and the OSS was in many ways kind of the precursor to the Green Berets, and Aaron Bank was a member, and the SEALs. They had the first maritime unit well before the Navy. They were willing to use scuba gear before anybody else, and the CIA kind of continued that because they had both intelligence collection. This is by law, and covert action. And in covert action, you're doing those things that other agencies can't do. You're doing things that are deniable by the government, and some of them can be direct action. Some of them could be, influencing other people, say politically. You're influencing. Some of them could be supporting, opposition groups in other countries. There's lots of types of covert action. They had that piece, as well as information collection. And really, intelligence is about information collection and analysis. That's the vast majority of what's done. President needs to make a decision. Somebody's got to give him information to make that decision.
Right. You would think that they would want to have this, daily briefing given to them, or hey, here's what's going on the net. You might want to think about it. They're doing this over in this country, or they're trying to do this to our country. Do you have any concern about that, or just gentleman's game, sir?
Yeah.
Let's not look at their mail. It's like, what? We got their mail? Just hold it to the light.
Now we seem to be perfectly comfortable.
Completely, yeah. I mean, I guess covert operations would be like, in Afghanistan when Mazar-e Sharif was being under, suppression by like C-130s. I think the first casualty was Mike Spann, who was a CIA, KIA, killed in action during that Mazar-e Sharif.
Yeah.
That would be the same. He's on the ground, under that guise, and we all know about him because he was KIA'd, unfortunately. And you guys are putting yourselves in the line of fire. You're doing things to make sure that guys like myself can have this podcast, under the guise of the American flag, freedom. Right, so we can do the things that we want to continue to do, and our neighbors. And I don't think anybody's really ready. I asked this question around my circle here in Salt Lake, to people around me. I'm like, are you ready for a hypersonic missile to come blow up the car wash while you're standing there? Are we ready? Yeah. Are you ready for that? Because what's going on in Ukraine, and how all of a sudden super missile comes in and just blows up the park. People are just having a normal day, and then the sounds and the tinnitus in the ears, and then the ringing, and then all of when the smoke settles and the calamity. It's are we ready for that here? I don't think so. We're just walking around kind of we believe in guys like yourself, or the Navy SEALs that run the sites, or the Green Berets do their jobs in the cloakness of night.
Yeah. Look, there are guys downrange in the military and intelligence who kind of take the ultimate risks, right? And a lot of intelligence guys, it might just be you. It might be one guy, right? You're just out there, and there's no backup. Right, and if something goes wrong, you only have your wits and your plan to kind of get out of that, and that can be really scary, and it takes a lot of courage. It's true, it takes a lot of bravery. Military obviously has the same, and there are a lot of guys in the intelligence community served in the military before they came.
Yeah. You say these guys are downrange. Don't you think we're all kind of downrange today with the internet? And a little bit of this. I think that there's this war going on also, right? Versus the missiles and the guns and the trenches. There's these keyboard wars that are going on right now that maybe people aren't paying attention to, where they're collecting data, or there's bad actors in the world that are trying to gather information based off of your Instagram post.
You hit the nail on the head. There used to be, they called it in the Cold War the Fulda Gap, that the Soviet Union would invade Europe through the Fulda Gap as kind of a region in Central Europe. Now that Fulda Gap's on our cell phone, right? We are all the edge. We are all the perimeter. And they are trying to collect information. And when I say they, I mean China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, places like that. They are trying to collect information from people, but they're also trying to change their minds. They've realized that the American citizen is the soft underbelly of this nation, right? We are the ones who vote. We're the ones who run for Congress. We're the ones who work in the military. We are the ones who work at a company that maybe builds technology like AI for the military. We are the soft underbelly, and so for decades, we kind of got used to this idea that it's presidents and generals and colonels and people like that were the targets. And now we're all the targets. And that is a massive change, and really the core of what my book's about and what I wanted to write about, because I don't think people realize what's really going on. You see stuff in the news, you hear, oh, TikTok's a danger, or, oh, there was another hack of a healthcare system, and it's just these blips. But they all add up to something, which is we're all being targeted, and now we need to all protect ourselves because we're all being targeted.
I mean, what about these companies that, I've done it, where I've spit in a tube and I've sent it off to see how the family all reacts to each other's DNAs. And then you hear that, all that information could be just sold to somebody else as a business.
It's
and you're
much
thinking,
worse.
Yeah.
It's much worse than that. So you spit in that tube, and first it can be stolen, right? Somebody can hack in and take it from the company. But what's even worse is that most likely that company, even if they were American, probably sent your spit to China to have it tested there, because they can operate like everything else, right? Their system, it's just cheaper to do things in China on purpose for some of these things. They're subsidizing businesses like this. And so they most likely do actually have a lot of people's DNA sitting over there. And there are companies like BGI Genomics is a big Chinese pharmaceutical and biotechnology company. And not only are they collecting DNA from people all over the world, there is evidence that they are in contracts with the People's Liberation Army, with the PLA. So that information, that DNA, your genetics, is possibly going directly to the People's Liberation Army, and who knows who else. Most likely their intelligence community as well, because in China, their intelligence community can ask for any information they want from any Chinese citizen or any Chinese company anytime they want, and there's no recourse. They can just go in and take it and say, yep, that's mine.
Interesting. You know what I mean? Because, like, I guess you could start thinking about, like, if they can just, I mean, what, like, we all sign up to Instagram, or we all sign up to the local website and upload our credit card information. And, you know, it's just like, oh, hey, buy now with 3 taps of your thumb on, you know, on a, I don't even want to say their website, you know, because I don't want to give them any, like, respect about that. But, you know, they're not doing proper humanitarian, you know, workforce. They're using underage kids to make your clothing, and it's fast clothing, but yet you sign right up and you just say, oh, it's only $6 versus $13 locally. Let me just buy it for $6 and have it sent to me. But they have all that information from you. You could have shopped locally and supported the local neighbor that sells the same thing. But, you know, they do sell it so much cheaper because they just want to gather the info, which we just give, thinking it's just a normal thing.
We just give it away. We don't think about it as a security concern, because most of us don't think like intelligence officers. And for decades or centuries of American life, we didn't have to, and now we kind of do. Weirdly, we have all learned to protect our computers, right? We have, you know, we teach 5-year-olds cybersecurity, and we say, you know, you have to use a password, and you have to, you know, and if you see a weird email, don't open it. It's a phishing attack. So we've learned to protect our computers, but we've never learned to protect ourselves, to protect our own minds. We don't even think about that as a security issue, but it is. Right there, and we need to start thinking about it that way, and training people, even training kids, to think about, hey, when somebody's collecting your information, when you're giving away information, it might not just be, you know, to sign up for an email list you want to be on. It might be going somewhere bad, and those people might not have your best intentions at heart, and it's even worse than them just trying to maybe steal some money from you. They might be doing this to harm your community or harm your country.
I mean, they might try to figure out what makes us tick in a bio way to use, you know, bio on us that we could not, you know, vaccine against, or, you know, thwart or use any type of, like, over-the-counter medication to stop. It's just like, what do? You know, it's like, here comes a super flu. And I say that because there's a movie, and it's called The Sword and the Stone, and it's a Disney cartoon, and it has Merlin and Arthur, and he pulls the sword. But during that, he battles Mim. Okay, Merlin battles another wizard, Mim, and they try to battle. They turn into fiery dragons, and then they turn into a mouse and an elephant, and then at the end, he turns into a biological cold, and she's in bed with a thermometer, and he's like, I've turned into the cold, bro. You can't get rid of that. You know what I mean? And so to kind of bring it full circle, you know, biological warfare, obviously, since wizards, okay, it could be out there, you know, there has to be something on the intelligence circuit, right?
Well, if you want to get dark for a second,
Yeah, I do.
During apartheid in South Africa, the South African government had a program of biological warfare targeted specifically at black people that would affect black people and not white people. So they went there. Now, this was decades ago. They didn't have the capability to genetically engineer a disease, but they kind of showed that it's possible for a country to do this. And it is extremely scary to think of today, where people have seen how bad a pandemic can get economically, how many people can die, and we do have the genetic engineering capability to engineer diseases. And we are talking about a country like China that is sitting on the genetic information of millions of people.
Right.
And it is conceivable that would happen. That isn't science fiction anymore. That's within the world of possible. Now, I don't know if that's happening, and hopefully it's not.
Right.
But this is where, the intelligence community and the military and people like this come in, is to try to protect us from those threats. But we also need to protect ourselves and be careful about where we send information, like our own genetics.
We all need to be our own little internal intelligence officer inside. We all need to be a little bit more cautious with our personal details, finances, and things that we post up online, or what seems so innocent. You open up a cruise ship app and you're entering your information, and is their site secure?
Yeah.
And it's the small guys that can get hit.
Think like a spy, be kind of a citizen intelligence officer. That may be necessary. And look, I don't think that it's like we all need to be sitting around paranoid all the time.
Sure.
But we're all raised, you grow up and you're taught, okay, this is a bad neighborhood, be a little more careful, don't leave your valuables in the car, put your wallet in your front pocket, right? Like we're all raised in a way to protect ourselves. And by the way, in the Cold War, we're raised, people were raised to hide under their desks in case of a nuclear missile coming in. And today, kids are taught to hide in case of an active shooter. So children realize there are bad things. We know there are bad things in the world. And it's just prudent to say there are other bad things. And maybe that's collecting information, or maybe that's trying to convince me of something. Maybe when I'm on, something like TikTok, which is Chinese owned, and they not only can, but it's been proven do use it for censorship and other information control, then you should be prudent. And we should be aware of these kinds of threats and act accordingly.
I mean, even video games, I can think of a very popular game out there, and I usually like to invest in a company that has video games. And if you have to buy in on the video game for points or bucks or, any of that kind of thing, I'm like, well, if they're going to collect money from everybody, what's their stock value? That's my first thing. So this one company I looked up, my daughter was into this game and it was very popular. And I was like, what are you spending money on there? She's like, oh, this game. And I was like, oh, what's that game called? Right? That's all I wanted to know. And I walked away and I'm like, why is she spending, $12 to get points on this game to build her loadout? So I Google it and I'm like, oh, it's only owned by 3 people, not in America, out of China. Out in that area of Asia. And I was just like, well, how do I buy stock? I'm like, is this an open traded? And it's like, no, it's privately owned. I'm like, wow, they're getting 3 people have access to this huge video game platform, and they're just collecting everybody's data, your strokes, your keystrokes, everything that you're doing through that game. Nobody really reads, I think, the user agreements, the privacy agreements. And if they are they honestly the real thing, but still.
You're doing it. You just did it right there, right? You did some due diligence.
I did.
You thought like an intelligence officer. You kind of learned something and you dug into it, and that's what people will need to do. And we can do that for anything, right? And we can go and say, hey, we're so used to this technology is American owned, right? And it's safe in some way and it's regulated and it's not going to take advantage of me. But all of a sudden, some of it's not. Right? And so it just taken, that 1 minute to say, let me dive a little deeper into this and see what's really going on. And are people talking about this being a problem? Is it a threat? Is my information going somewhere I don't want it? Is it known that this is maybe a state-owned enterprise by the Chinese government, and so it's dangerous?
Right.
And just literally, it might take a minute, it may take 5 minutes. You put it into ChatGPT, and then you can make a decision. And that doesn't mean not doing anything. We're all going to buy Chinese stuff, right? Like, it's impossible to live.
I'm not against that. Right. Exactly.
But
I'm not saying like.
But now you're
Yeah.
making an informed decision, like a president would, right? And you're saying,
Right.
okay, I know this now, I can assess the risk, and I'm willing to live with it, or maybe I'm not. And we need to do it for our kids, too, because they don't
That's
maybe
the
have those
intelligence.
skills.
Exactly. So I gathered the intelligence and then made a decision and just was like, well, I told my daughter, I was like, hey, did you ever think about this? Because the other things I've invested in, they seem to be openly traded or on the stock market, and I find that to be a little bit, they probably follow some type of ethical code.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
That's
some
it.
transparency.
Yes.
Like you can be kind of sure they're going to follow some rules. They probably have some level of cybersecurity and government regulation, right? And so you made that assessment, right? And you can make it for your kids.
They're just going to pick that open sourced intelligence or the intelligence we're giving somebody through these apps or these, social media platforms. And it's even the current big dogs social media platforms, all the main four, or whoever you go to, all of them out there. It's like they're all gathering our information. And it's not just China, it's America. It's like these guys are in America and they're gathering information, for their new glasses that you are going to wear now, and that's going to zoom right into your cerebral cortex. All this information just flooding in, it's like, we're just getting pegged for all of our info.
Yeah, I mean, look, the same thing does happen. American companies take information, and that's how that whole economy works in social media. But there is a big difference between an American company and a Chinese one when it comes to this. Look, they're also American citizens primarily running these companies, and they have to abide by laws. And if they do something wrong, they can be brought to court. That's not the case in China. If CEO of that company does something that is very illegal in America, there's nothing we can do about it. That guy lives in Beijing or Shanghai or something, and there's nothing we can do.
And it's probably all China in China. It's like what's yours is theirs and what's theirs is theirs in China. So the Chinese are like, hey, I don't see many people in the provinces running, crypto mine. You know what I'm saying? All the people that live out in the different areas that are disenfranchised from the rest of the big dogs in China. There's not, a lot of folks don't realize that the people are struggling to just maintain a life. And then there's the people at the very top that just are running the whole show and just gathering all the information. Like you said, they can just go to company A and say, give us all your information. So everything over there really just works for, the government of China.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you bring up a good point. Look, this isn't about Chinese people.
No.
Chinese people are like American people. They're just living their life, working at a job, doing their thing. It's the government, it's the regime, it's the Communist Party. And that party is, I believe, bad for the Chinese people. I mean, they commit, atrocities on people. And this is well documented. These are not good people. And they do, they want to do worse to us. Think of what they're doing to their own people. And what they would do to us if they consider us they consider us in some ways an enemy. And so, but that also gets at how it is different. There, everything is controlled from the top down.
Right.
I mean, there are other sources of power. I mean, provinces have power, and there are big companies. But like, really, at the end of the day, Xi Jinping can do whatever he wants, and he can dig down deep and tell anybody to do what he wants. And we don't have that here, and that's a big difference. And there is a separation. Sure, maybe you're on Instagram or you're on X or you're on a social media company here, but our government can't just go and walk in that door and say, give me all your data, and I want you to take this person and kick them off, and I want you to silence this. They don't have control. We don't do that. We have a separation. They don't have that separation there.
What do you think about our current President Trump owning a social media platform like that with his Truth platform, where he does capture everybody's information on there?
Yeah, look, I think there's a slippery slope where I think everybody believes in freedom of speech in this country, and the last thing any of us want to happen is for our government to control what we're saying. I know I feel this way. I think everybody does. It's fundamental to who we are. And so we want to look at our government and know that it's not trying to control what we say, what we do, at a really deep, fundamental level as citizens. And so we've just got to hope that the system, the laws in place, the checks and balances in place ensure that any actions by anybody in the government, president or anybody else, don't infringe on those basic rights. And if they do, that we stop that from happening, by making it illegal, forcing a divestiture, forcing some separation. And to me, that's just like core to who we are as a nation.
That's very good to hear. Very good to hear. Now, with all of these different things like medical records, financial records, the data breaches that happen here and there that people just seem to blow off, oh, hey, don't forget that so-and-so's credit checking company, that tells you your credit score has had a breach. Do you want to join the class action and get 12 cents back? It's like, well, wait, that 12 cents back, what got breached, right? And so what's that being used for? And, who took that and what are the actors like? And, I guess we are just so trusting with our devices that are in our hand, living in the U.S., or wherever you may live. You may feel just confident in your hometown of wherever that's at. Even if you're in England, you may feel like you have some freedom, right? Freedom of looking on your phone. And now there's this thing on your phone, and you're in your country, but that thing's not in your country. It's on your phone, but it's coming from a third party, like North Korea, or Russia, or China, or like you said, any of the different axes of evils, whoever they decide to call them today. But it's right here, so you feel kind of safe. You're in your own home. You're like, what's the worst that can happen?
That's the trick, right? That's the mind trick. It's almost like we can't even comprehend what that means, that there can be this threat coming through this little black box in my hand, but it does, and it can change how you think about the world or how your kids think about the world. And I think there's something else going on as well, which is like, for a long time, we looked at those breaches, like you're saying, somebody took, this financial data that we saw it as crime, right? We just think about it as like some hackers, like visualize, like some guy in a hoodie, hacking away, just trying to make some money by stealing some credit cards. Like that's what we had in our mind. And that's how we treated it. And so we monetized it. We're like, okay, you get hacked, you get 12 cents back, like you're saying. That's not how it is now always. It's not just a financial crime, right? It's not just hackers. These are nation states doing it, and they're doing it for national security reasons. They're trying to harm the country. They're trying to, disrupt an election. They're trying to have fellow citizens be angry with each other because that they know that will make us weaker. They're trying to steal, information to create technologies that would be used in a war against us, right? So these are not financial crimes anymore. These are national security crimes that affect all of us. And we need to start thinking differently about it as individuals, but also as companies and also as a government. We can't let this stuff slide anymore. We have to look at it and say, no, our citizens are being targeted. We need to go after this, and we need to stop it from happening. And a fine, just fining a company for that is not going to cut it. Like, it's not just like, oh, they lost some money for people, but we can insure it. It's fine. It's like, no, they harmed us, and we need to stop them. We need to deter them from doing this again.
No, I love it. No, great conversation. I hope that, if you come away from this, podcast episode that, our listener or our viewer, it's just to be a little more cognizant or aware of your situational awareness around you. Okay, always looking around, making sure you're good. B, what you're uploading, situational awareness, and then C, what you're joining and the information you're giving. And I know that like places are legit, and I'm not saying stop, doing business with your local bank and stuff, but you just got to be aware that if you're just opting into some crazy chat GPT app or some type of filter that says, I'm going to make you look like a lion's face, okay, just grow your beard out and be a lion, okay? You just got to grow it, let it go, grow your own mane. But you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the takeaway. And look, the takeaway is also that it's everybody. And it includes soldiers, it includes retired military, right? They especially want to target people like that. And I know people listening to this right now, like they look at you as somebody they probably cannot defeat in the battlefield. They want to try to defeat you before the battle even happens.
Right.
By changing your mind. A win for them is China doesn't even fight for Taiwan. We just give it up. Right? That's called cognitive warfare. When you try to win a fight without even fighting, by changing people's minds. And this is ultimately where it's going for them is, how do I win that battle over Taiwan or whatever it is before it even happens, so I don't have to fight you on the battlefield. Or maybe I win it against your kids, right? And I change their minds, so when they grow up and they turn 18 and they enlist, they don't want to fight in Taiwan either. Or when they become a colonel or a general one day and have to decide a war plan, they say, you know what, I don't want to fight this war. Right? Like that's the win for them, and that's just a really different way to think about the world in a way none of us are used to thinking about the world, but that's the new world we live in.
And President Biden said this when he was in office was, the next war is not going to be a bullet shot. It's going to be a keystroke. It's just going to be that kind of warfare. Somebody's going to just trigger somebody with a keystroke, and then it's just going to be set, and then off it goes, online per se, whatever that keystroke is. But I kind of believe in that. I can see that. And I know that like in Ukraine right now, it is very bullets on target, but it's also very propaganda coming into my feed and your feed. And like, this is what's going on. And it's showing us what it thinks we need to see, because this is a supercomputer right here. And I am not a supercomputer.
Yeah. There's this author, William Gibson. He wrote this book called Neuromancer. He's kind of a science fiction author, and he has this great quote. He said, the future is here, it's just not evenly distributed. And so when we look at Ukraine, you're seeing that future. Yeah, look, they're in trenches in the mud. That's a real war over there. There's a lot of guys dying. But they're also showing the future of that war. These guys are flying drones against each other. They're updating those drones all the time. They're most likely doing cyber attacks and information attacks and all these kinds of things. So we're seeing both, right? And we're seeing that unevenly distributed future, and that is going to be our future. Probably next war we fight, it is going to be that keystroke. It's going to be robots. We're still going to have guys on the ground. Sure. There are going to be guys like what I did, when I was in Iraq, out there collecting information, recruiting sources. There are going to be soft guys out there, doing their thing on an island somewhere in the South Pacific. But a lot of it is going to be these drones, and those drones or those AI systems were made by somebody here who went to an American college maybe and works at a company in the Bay Area or in Austin or something, and that person is being targeted, right? Because they want that, whoever that guy or gal is, they want that person to not make that software, right?
Red
or if
Sparrow.
they do make it, they want to take that software and use it themselves as well.
Like the family that was escorted out of the U.S. and they had to take their kids who didn't know they were Russian spies, and the parents, there was that trade between Russia and the U.S. for like a prisoner swap, and they gave up this family that had been captured and like sent them back to Russia, and the kids were like, what?
Yeah.
that whole time, living in the U.S. This is current. That's like, this is happening,
There's this kind of story where it talks about if the U.S. and the Russians and the Chinese each wanted to get some sand from a beach somewhere, right? The U.S. we'd get this satellite, and it'd be $1 billion satellite, and we'd send it up into space, and it would use a special sensor that Nobel Prize winning physicists made that would scan the beach and understand the chemistry of the sand. The Russians, they would send in a submarine, and they would have their Spetsnaz, like special operations guy, in the middle of the night swim up to the beach and grab a little sample of the sand. The Chinese, they would invite 1,000 Chinese tourists to go to that beach, and they would suntan all day, hang out, go swimming, get back on the plane, and when they landed in Shanghai, the Chinese MSS, their CIA, would come in, take their towels, shake out the sand from the towels, and they would have more sand than the rest of us could have collected, and it would cost almost nothing, right? And it's just a different mentality of how you collect information and how you do things. And like, to your point, people, they're going to come in and just think about it in non-traditional ways that we're not used to.
Right. There's always someone out there trying to think of another way to be devious. And so we have to keep training guys like yourself and others to be also as devious, because as I've talked to undercover FBI agents who helped thwart Russian spies inside the FBI, the dude had to become the same thing.
Yeah.
He had to learn and live the same path for 5 years. He's like, talk about spy.
Yeah. This is the fun thing about being an intelligence officer, right? You're a paid criminal. You're a criminal on behalf of your country. You're not breaking your own laws, but you're thinking about devious ways to get things, to steal things, information usually, from other countries, and think of clever ways to do it, and you're doing it to give your own country an unfair advantage, right? This isn't a fair game. If we're in a fair fight, we've already lost. The idea is to get information unfairly, give us an unfair advantage by having people who go there and are devious people. You have to be like that a little. The balance, though, is you also have to have a huge amount of integrity, because you can never turn that back to your own country. And that's, a lot of people don't realize this, is when you're recruited as an intelligence officer, the number one thing for being recruited is, do you have integrity? If you don't have that, then you're not allowed to play in the sandbox. That's it. You're going home.
Right, because again, like the gentleman that created the OSS, or was a big part of that in the very beginning, they all thought that he fought for multiple sides. And they're like, well, is he fighting for the Russians? Is he fighting for England? Is he fighting for America? And again, when I mentioned that he was buried with American honors, et cetera, for his service, that's what he should be recognized as, not the other things. But through history, it's like, well, was his loyalty to the U.S. the whole time? Well, he had to do things that seemed like it wasn't in order for it to be.
Yeah, it's true. There is a long history of people for whom you may not even know the real story, but some people do know the real story, and they were out there protecting the nation. And I think you're talking about some of the MI6 guys and the British who helped us build this. We didn't know how to do it. No. We didn't have a history of this, and President Roosevelt at the time appointed this guy Bill Donovan. They called him Wild Bill Donovan, and he was a lawyer. He's an amazing guy. He was a Republican who worked for Roosevelt. They disagreed with each other politically, but Roosevelt knew Donovan was the right guy, and he said, "I need you to make our intelligence agency." It was called the COI at first, and Donovan was also a bit of a devious guy, and he put it together. He learned from the British. They helped us set it up, and he went out there, and he didn't think like he didn't think like a normal person at that time. He was like, well, who do I need? Yeah, I need some guys who went to Yale and were lawyers and whatever, but I also need I need this guy who's in prison because he's the best guy at cracking safes in the world, and I'm going to go get him out of prison, and I'm going to have him come teach me how to do it. He would recruit magicians who could do sleight of hand and teach this guy. Like, he would recruit people who knew how to do this stuff and give them a chance, and they made us better at it. And he created that whole culture that we still have today in special forces and in the CIA and another intelligence agency, which is like, get the job done. Now get it done with integrity for your own country, but do what you got to do to do the mission when you're out in the field.
Yeah, it's like that show, Catch Me If You Can, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. You know, no spoilers here, but if you haven't seen it, towards the end, they're like, well, we want to hire you. You know how to do all these checks. We need you. Or like, the people that worked at the Pentagon that made a fake parking pass because they got tired of walking so far away to the Pentagon. So they made a pass, and they were just getting away with like parking in the Admiral's parking or something like that. And then one day someone's like, how come this guy keeps parking here? And they said, where'd you get this pass? And he's like, oh, I guess I made it. And they're like, can you make more?
Yeah.
Can you make more? You see? He's like, oh yeah, no problem. Okay, cool. Yeah, The Dirty Dozen was, a good movie, right? I need these guys do this job.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And there's a place for those people still, in the intelligence world for doing that, for creating cover documents and things like that. Still has to get done. We still need devious people who are good at something and oftentimes obsessed with it. Like, this is what they love doing. And you get to do it. I mean, it's just the coolest job ever. Like, you get to do these things, and you're somebody like me.
It's the coolest job ever.
I love to live abroad. I love to travel. I love the idea of doing operations, figuring out hard problems, and you get to go do that every day. The dirty secret is you spend still half your time doing paperwork like every other job, but like for that other half, when you're out in the field, it's amazing. And there are people who do that in technology and all sorts of things, and it's like, look, you could go make software at any company in this country if you're a great software developer or you have a degree in math or something. You could be making ad tech that sells more, widgets to people, or you could go work at the NSA or the CIA or DIA or any of these agencies, and you could be making software, but you're doing it for a higher cause. And trust me, it's going to be way more interesting than making software that sells more widgets.
Just an analyst, quote unquote. Now listen, you've been a great guest on the show, going back and forth, just all about the spy game and talking about just your book, and I want to just reiterate that, Anthony Vinci, who is here with us today, is the author of the book, The Fourth Intelligence Revolution, The Future of Espionage and the Battle to Save America. So I want to plug that again and make sure that gets said clearly out here. You've put time and thought into writing this and having it out there. So make sure that if you do pick up Anthony's book, that if you buy it online, then you leave a review where you buy it when you've picked it up. Put down, hey, great book, or you know what, I could have done this better, or whatever. Just put it in the comments so that way, I'm sure he'll check it out, or, everybody that's involved with the book. And it's a good thing to do for the author. That way they get some feedback. So my big push is just to leave comments where they buy their book. And if they can't buy it local, then buy it wherever they can. That's my other thing. And with that said, we've had you for just about an hour. You have served our nation. You've gone into different places that I probably don't want to think about. And so thanks for doing that. Thanks for figuring things out. Thanks for being OCD about whatever it is that you're passionate about, that, the agency loves you to have your gig and to write your book. So, I know you're a PhD, and I didn't want to call you doctor. So I'm not going to call you doctor, but a PhD is pretty badass, bro. And I just want to let you know that, congratulations on that. And if you ever want to be back on SOFREP Radio with me, you have an open platform to talk about your book further, or any stories else that we may not have even touched base on that you want to talk about, you can bring it to light here. I just want to let you know you have an open door here at SOFREP Radio.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for what you do. It's important to get these stories out there. and it means a lot to people, especially, young people are trying to figure out what to do with their lives, and so I appreciate what you do. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And with that said, and on behalf of Anthony and my team here at SOFREP and Brandon Webb and everybody who has helped support me be on this and be the host, I want to say thank you. And to everyone out there that listens and comments and reaches out to emails, continue to do so. I love to get that information, and I digest it, and then who knows what I do with it next. I might call you out. So with that said, be kind to somebody. Watch what you're downloading, watch what you're uploading, be aware at all times, and from all of us here at SOFREP, this is Rad saying peace.
You've been listening to SOFREP Radio.